Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing rubber frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust.
You sound scared.
It's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat. Y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome to another live post-game edition of 5 on the Floor. I am your host, Greg Sylvander. Today's floor plan, we got our joy back. We are going to recap the Miami Heat's impressive 128-107 victory over the San Antonio Spurs. Boy, there was some interesting stuff that developed today. I think everybody kind of has been on the Jimmy Butler watch, and we were pleasantly surprised. We're going to talk about that in a second. Before we do, I want to shout out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. Over 10 channels where you can talk Miami Heat basketball and a bunch of other stuff, but Heat 24/7. It's the most Heat anywhere. $2.99 is your monthly charge. You can get it's $3.99 on your Apple device, so try to avoid that. Click through the link in this description of the episode. You can get all of the channels, access to chat Miami Heat 24/7. Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere. And I'm going to go right into the first segment because we got a lot to talk about, and there's a player in particular that we are going to shout out right now. Let's do it with the Insurance by Lynette player of the game.
And now it's time for the A-Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
I'm not even going to tee this up. I'm just going to pass the ball, get out of the way. This is going to be an isolation possession for my man Eternal. Introduce everybody to who the player of the game was.
The player of the game was the werewolf, Khalil Ware. Came in the game surprisingly from Spo, which if you guys are familiar with Spo, he gives you hints during pregame. Someone asked Spo about if we would see any real minutes between him and Bam. Spo hinted at if I feel like it will, impact winning, then yeah, and then we saw that. And then for a 7-minute and 18-second stint in the first half, the Miami Heat went on a 14-2 run. It looked totally, completely different on both ends of the floor. You saw it give Greg Major what we had talked about, like especially during this season, the past couple of seasons, where they look like they're going through just the drags of the season of the game, and they weren't looking good that first quarter. First quarter was horrible, but we got to see him give some spark and that energy that he does give just with the verticality, of spacing that he provides. He has done a great job of improving game to game. And we just got to see him and Bam share the court. You can kind of see Bam's energy change on both ends of the floor with him being on the court. You can see Jimmy's energy change with him being on the court and Tyler as well. And so it was just great to see that. Now, the more shocking thing than that, which I didn't expect any of us would be more shocked than that, was that he started the second half, which I'm sure we'll talk more about, but that's just crazy. He started the second half, and then the stint improved. Like, they then went on to score. Hear me out, people. For the people that can't see us, they went on to score 46 points, their highest scoring quarter of the season, in the third quarter. Now, for everybody else that'll be able to break it down, wax poetically about it, to steal from Greg, the Miami Heat just played different. They were way more active on defense. They were way more active on offense. The ball was moving. Guys had to be responsible on defense for having keep Khalil out of the paint, and keep him out of the air as well. So it was just great to watch. And I don't normally do this. Hashtag Eternal was right.
Thank you. I'm glad you finished that way because I was about to tee that up as well. This was an interesting game because, the way that it started, it was kind of in the mud. Tyler was being completely blanketed by the defense. And you're right. Like this lineup and the fact that Spurs stuck with it in the third quarter, it's exciting. It feels like they kind of unlocked something. They found something. I want to shout out Duncan Robinson, Major. He killed it today. 8 of 12 was a catalyst for a lot of what they did right in terms of with the lineups, the bigger lineups, having Duncan out there. I thought also as Tyler kind of was a little slower to get going, that Duncan was a big part of everything that happened today. We're going to get to the Jimmy Butler situation just for a little bit, but just talk about the vibes, talk about what you liked about this game in particular. And, everybody's shouting out the two big lineup. I guess I'll skip ahead and ask you straight up. You think Spo sticks with it in the next game?
I mean, it's Spo. You never know, right? We were joking, and I specifically joked that we're not going to see Ware play for 2 games, and that would be the most Spo thing ever. But I thought they earned their right. I think them starting that third quarter, I don't know if that necessarily was the plan going into it, but they played phenomenally together. It does help when you have Duncan, like you said, going off. Nico's hitting his shots. Terry was hitting his shots. Everyone was hitting all the shooters around them. That just helps the vibes even more. It gives everyone a little bit of confidence to then play at their max level. I also thought this was a good situation to do it with Wemby. He's a very tall, very good player, but he's not like a Jokic or Giannis or some of that could just physically dominate Ware in the sense of back him down. So this was a good matchup, and they needed length to match Wemby, which we saw how good that was. He very strong argument he outplayed Wemby. I'll just flat out say it. He was playing really well. So I don't know if this is going to be permanent. And I'm always hesitant to say Spo's just going to make a really big change. This was the most fun I've had watching a Heat game in the past year and a half or so. So I hope it continues. It was a blast. The guys looked happy. I hope it continues because I think a big part of it was the new lineup. I think it gave everyone a little bit of pep in their step, and then you start knocking down shots, and then you're just out there playing ball with your friends. That's kind of what it felt like. So good move by Spo. Some people are going to say it was way too late. I think they've earned the right to continue.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And they needed this. The fans needed this. Social media heads needed this. I think even the media, having a little bit of something to deflect attention on this whole Jimmy standoff and how uncomfortable it all felt. It even felt uncomfortable starting the game. And then this lineup really changed things. And another thing that Adele pointed out on playback, and everyone should join us on playback, watch the games with us. But our boy Digital Adele talked about how Bam got the ability to roam a little bit more on defense, the freedom to do different things that way. And it was one of the first times in a while where you didn't feel like you were undersized. You didn't feel like everybody on the court was at a height disadvantage when you lined up. And Ware really brings that with his length and stuff like that, against a player like Wemby, who is not, to your point, so physically imposing that he's going to dominate on the low block with his weight or with his girth and strength. It's more about how damn vertically the vertical spacing and just everything he can do. He's an absolute alien in all the right ways. He's unbelievable. But Ware didn't look necessarily small next to him, and they don't really have that many players on the roster that can bring that. So it was just great to see Bam also get the ability to kind of play off of Wemby and start to look around at other defensive opportunities. There was much more active rebounding on the glass. These are all things that I think are super tangible. And we were all just dissecting what Jimmy was doing. It was like watching Jimmy. How is Jimmy reacting? And this completely flipped the script. And that's huge. Let's get to our next segment. We're going to get to the X-ray of the play of the day from Mobile C-Arm and Staffing.
And now it's time for the X-ray of the play of the day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-ray of the play of the day.
Damn, it feels good to say we got a lot of plays to choose from. Do we go with the Ware 3 from Bam when we were all kind of shell-shocked that this was actually happening? Do we go with Bam's alley-oop? Crazy. Was it catch it with his left, I think? Something like that? That was
pretty... He thought it was right, yeah.
But, okay.
On the left.
Eternal,
yeah.
because you were right, you get the chance. You're running point on this. Not only do you tee up player of the game, but you get to choose your favorite play of the night. Let's do it.
Honestly, I would say it is the Bam to Ware, but to me, the play of the game comes from Spo just sticking with Khalil. I have a quote from Spo here. He says, where did it go? I'm sorry. Oh my God, where did it go? Anyway, we have Jimmy blocking a shot on one end, starting the fast break, which led to a Tyler pass from Tyler to Khalil with a touch pass to Bam, and the finish over Women. I just thought, to me, the play of the game, which is the connectivity that the team started to have and the joy that they started to play with on both ends. And I mean, it just sparked a momentum type win for them. And hopefully that does bring a little bit of joy to the locker room, not only today, but over the next couple of weeks as we see things play out.
Yeah, and to reinforce the quotes about Spo, and I'm following these, Alex Toledo is in the arena doing the post-game availability, and in our 5 on the floor, off the floor Discord server, you can get all of the transcribed quotes. Bam and Ware lineups. This is from Spo. They were tremendous defensively. That kind of ignited the energy for the group. They were dynamic. This is something we were slowly starting to work on. Eternal mentioned how they alluded to it in the pregame presser too. He said, I know Khalil sparks a lot of opinions on here. Let us do our job. Let him do what he's been doing. That's an interesting quote as well. Make us have to think about not playing you, make us continue to figure out things and keep you on the court. That's where we're doing right now. This is all the right stuff. Like, the team needed something to sink their teeth into on the basketball court that's off of all this bullshit, the stuff that we talk about. Frankly, I mean, we're the ones kind of pushing some of this. We're an engine behind it, but it's been really what all the fans want to listen to. Our numbers show it. It's been about Jimmy and Jimmy's reaction to this and what's going to happen with Jimmy next. And Eternal, you're back with the quotes now, or what's up?
Yeah. Well, just adding on, I don't know if you saw the update from Alex. He says on Bam adjusting to the lineup, defensively, he can adjust easily. Offensively, look, we've been working on this behind the scenes little by little each day. Defensively, that just looked like it was elite. So if I can lean on this defensively to get our team to another level defensively, we will. So that is something that you could probably see. Maybe we don't know. Like Major said, he could just go back to his bench role, but maybe this is the spark that Khalil ends up starting the rest of the season because of this specific quote from Spo. Defensively, that just looked like it was elite. So if I can lean on this defensively to get our team to another level defensively, we will. And we know what Spo cares about more than anything else. If this can continue to look like this, I think it stays. And that could be something for you, not only this season, but for the presumable future.
Yeah. And, I think that there's a couple things that we can stay grounded in they're still a 500-ish basketball team. The Jimmy Butler situation is still in play, but these are the kind of moments that heal, at least to a degree, at least for a finite period of time. They heal everybody to some degree. And I think that that's something that is an underrated part of this major. There are other guys, though, that looked a lot more comfortable. And I don't know why it coincided with this lineup, but I'm seeing the quote here from Spo about Jovic and his game today. I thought Jaquez was good too, but let's go with Nico first. He's still a young player, but he's found a role also coming off the bench. He can process things. What's the feel for the game? What's needed? He's been really important as a spark off of our bench. That really shows that that's kind of the role that they see him in now. And I know that he's been, flexing in between the starting lineup and not. Your thoughts on Nico, and also Jaime Jaquez started to find his range again. I think that that's a positive part of this. So let's kind of hone in on the young guys off the bench.
Yeah, we've talked about before. Nico is best when he doesn't think. And I mean, there's several players like that, but when he can just go out there and play. And I think maybe starting now off the bench from when he was starting earlier in the season, it looked like he was thinking while he was in the game. Mm-hmm. Maybe now, and kind of what Spo's saying, he can think of what's needed while he's watching the game and analyzing it. So then when he goes in, he already knows what the game flow and what needs to be done. It also helps when you're just flat out playing better too. Like you can just go out there and be confident and not worried. Hey, if I make a mistake, am I going to get pulled here because I'm not playing that great? He's been playing much better individually. He's been then connecting with the team a lot better. I think Jovic, if you lean into like a Ware and Bam and others, Jovic, especially when he's hitting his shots, can be another guy that is going to seamlessly go with one, or even we might even see both of those, and then it would be like the biggest Heat lineup we've seen in a really long time, but with a lot of spacing and other things. Jaquez, from the start of the season to now, he looks, I always use the term, just like a basketball player now. He doesn't look like he's thinking too hard anymore. He doesn't look like he's worried about making mistakes. He's just out there. He knows what he can do again. And he is going out there and doing it, making his moves with conviction, not like worried they're not going to work, or he's trusting his body, he's trusting his skills. And then I know you didn't ask about him, but I do think we've dogged on Terry so much that he does deserve. He had a good game today, and maybe it's the start of him being kind of somewhat of what they thought. There's a little bit of more joy into the team, because when he was on the Hornets, they had a lot of fun. They didn't win, but you watch, like, they're always laughing. They're always having fun. Maybe if they do lean into the Ware, more fun's being had, Terry can be a little bit more loose and just kind of be himself a little bit. That's speculation. I just want to say Terry had a good game. We dog on him for every bad game. It's only right to just give him a little shout out right there.
Agree. Terry did. And, Terry actually looked good last game too. I know that it wasn't good, but overall from the team. But another thing on Jaquez, as we kind of circle back to him, this is crazy, y'all. So in the 10 games in January, he's playing 31 minutes. That's about 10 minutes more than he'd averaged in any other month this season. He's up to 13 points a game on 50% shooting, 48% from three on 2.5 attempts, with 5.5 rebounds and 4.5 assists. He's getting back to what we've seen from him in the past. Obviously, I think we all wanted a steeper incline on his statistics, but just if you look in January, he's playing a lot better. Tonight, he was, I think, 5 of 7, if I have that correct. Yeah, for 12 points and 6 rebounds. Nico, 14 points, 5 of 8 shooting, 5 assists. So you're seeing them unlock these little parts of their game that I think are just super critical. We'll get to defending the house next, and then we're going to really close up the show talking about what to expect next, because I think that there's just a couple elements to this that, with Jimmy involved, maybe they found something that can buy them some time here as they continue to look for deals. We'll try not to go into too much transaction talk, but let's get to the next segment from Real Estate Shop, Defending the House.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
Collective effort. I mean, I hate to be, kind of with the cop out answer there, but let's lean into what kind of lineups from a defensive perspective, Ware and Bam unlock. Like, I think that there's a correlation between not just what you do up front, but what they do with all the other players and how they can like cycle in Tyler and Duncan, and it can you can survive defensively because you've got Ware and you've got Bam out there, and obviously Jimmy in the free safety role. I think that there's something to that also. Just from a defensive perspective, do you think that this Eternal is really more of like a zone situation if they stick with Ware and Bam, or how do you see that playing out? Because I saw them kind of flash zone at times. It looked like they got more comfortable going to some more man sets as the game went on. But your thoughts on kind of the schemes that that we could see with Bam and Ware going forward if this is now a thing. You're on mute.
Okay, I'm sorry. I pulled an Ethan. I'm so sorry. My bad. That's crazy. I'm sorry. I dropped the ball, everybody. But to answer your question, Greg, I think the thing that really makes it interesting, especially from a schematic point, is that you do have so much length inside. With Khalil and with Bam, even with Jimmy. Jimmy may not have like the longest wingspan, but just the instinctual game that he has as long as Jimmy is here. As you saw, like he got back into his free safety mode. And when I always thought this for years is that having 2 free safeties of the elite defensive talent that you have in Jimmy and Bam and allowing them to roam that way, and also having like an athletic center. Can't just have anybody back there. But having Khalil back there does change some things. Obviously, this is just one game, people. This is one game. But Wemby changes things offensively and defensively. And to see the Spurs have to change up their offense because of the way that Miami was playing defense was something to kind of pay attention to. Like you said, Greg, going from zone to man and being able to switch, right? Like we didn't see them stop switching, like just being able to switch some things and knowing you can funnel things down to Khalil, or knowing that you can get somebody to kind of play, forgive me for forgetting my words, but kind of hold guys up, right? And allowing guys to kind of recover on the play, which you have so much ground to cover when you have guys that big and that active, right? Like you have to do a lot of fighting. And now as you're fighting, the clock is ticking, and now you're late into the shot clock. And I think that does a lot for Miami. And, like somebody says in the chat, now look, if you do have somebody at the point of attack, now your defense just looks even more spectacular. Now it looks even more dynamic. And so I do think that there's some things to work with here. And as you get further into the season, I'm gonna pass the ball back. But as you get further into the season and this does keep working, it does gel better. Now when you go into those defensive clutch moments, Greg Major, and you put out Haywood out there, you put Bam, Khalil out there, and whoever else, if Jimmy is there, now you have a much more dynamic defense to put out there for those clutch moments.
It's true. And we've just talked about how small they feel against every team. And now we're finally at a place where they actually have a lineup, provided everybody's healthy, where they can go a little bit bigger. And, we talked on playback about if they could, ideally get to a place where Tyler's the smallest guy out in the rotation. I know Terry is going to be here for now, but that would be ideal. But let's cycle back to Jimmy to close the show. If they trade Jimmy now, and I'm interested to see what the chat says about this too, as we're live, and shout out to everybody who's joined us live. We've had a robust audience for all of these post-game shows lately. That's been a lot of fun to see everybody kind of get reinvigorated and reinterested in Miami Heat basketball. But is everybody more open-minded to going young with the Jimmy package because of what you're seeing from Ware? You're seeing that it can actually produce results next to Bam. There's just interesting stuff there. I guess, Major, we'll go to you first before we close, but what are your thoughts on kind of, does this impact the way you think about what you could get back for Jimmy Butler in any way, shape, or form? Or am I connecting dots one too quickly? And one, are there any dots even there to connect?
My personal opinion, no. I'm also like the type of person that's win as many games as possible now. And I know it's not always like the greatest franchise move to do, but I think it says something about just always trying to win. I think that eventually evens itself out and works, but like what options do you have? Is someone going to really give a lot of picks or young players for Jimmy at this point?
That's true.
There's already been talk like, hey, he's caused problems everywhere. They thought the Heat was the one place he would never cause problems, like media, everything. They're saying he's even causing problems there. That could diminish the return. I don't think you're going to get anything young, substantial that is really going to make a difference. Like if you're talking like making sure to get a first round pick in this year's draft or something, that is something I would be more interested in. But like that's Adam Simon and like the front office just nailing what feels like every draft pick they ever take. I don't think that changes anything from seeing the young guys play even better because we have a history of this. But you have a good young core that I feel like you could build around for the future. If you get an established younger player, if that does come across, I would be more open to that than like a Chris Middleton, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine type person. Like if you can somehow manage to get Fox, like that's not going to happen. But like if you can get someone that kind of fits that Bam timeline, I would do that way more than getting an older player to have a year or two.
Yeah, and stunt the growth of some of these young guys.
Yep.
I mean, now they're in a spot where, as Ware is starting to ascend, you have Bam, Hero, Jaquez, Jovic, all guys that they've drafted. So they've kind of shifted their entire thought process. I mean, as much as I'm talking 2026 free agency, it would be more about maybe what trades they could make to kind of fortify what they already have. I know it's one game and I'm not going to go overboard, but this is the kind of steps that you want to see. And it can take just one lineup to kind of unlock some things. It was a good shooting night, so we're going to keep monitoring that. And as far as Jimmy Butler goes, I think it does. It begs the question of if you can get a functional player and they're a little bit younger, that it makes it interesting. I mean, I know that Eternals talked a lot about some of Houston Rockets and their younger guys. There's interesting arguments to be made for certain players and if they could thrive in this, mix if you're going younger. But that's a conversation for another day. Today, we're going to enjoy the fact that the Miami Heat get a huge victory, not huge in the fact that they moved up in the standings or they beat the best team in the league, but it's a game that emotionally they needed and they got it 128-107. Want to shout out our sponsors. Thank you to Major. Thank you to Eternal for joining the show. Thank you to everybody live. We're almost up to 1,900 people watching this with us. Eternal, take us out with your final thoughts.
I think if anybody should go ISO, it is one Adam Simons. He has done, and not to say like he's drafted Hall of Fame players, but the level of productive and impactful talent, right? Like the story isn't done on Nico, the story isn't done on Jaime, and please don't try to write their story before it is finished, right? But you are seeing some growth. Yes, you will see some downs, but you are seeing some growth from them. You're seeing what we just saw from Khalil in very short stints of minutes, like of games, right? Like it ain't like Khalil's been playing all season, but you have seen them improve. And look at what you got from Tyler, and look at what you got from Bam over these years. Trust him with picks is all I'm saying. Trust him with picks. Don't give all your picks away. Try to recoup some. If the Jimmy trade is going to happen, try to recoup some picks. Even if you get somebody that's impactful now, try to recoup some picks so that you can keep restoring the war chest, because you are in a new CBA and it's going to be much harder to get these trades done, as we are seeing right now for the Miami Heat, just like we saw with Dame. It's very hard to get a trade done. So build through the draft. And if you can't get a trade done, try to do one wisely. But as we end this episode, shout out to Adam Simons.
Shout out to Adam Simon. Shout out to Khalil Ware. Shout out to Eric Spoelstra for sticking with the lineup after he went to it. All good things for one day. It feels like Miami Heat basketball healed a little bit, and we'll take that. We'll see what tomorrow holds. We'll have you covered for all the future games, as well as Ethan, Alex, Brady. You'll all be back on Off Day Pods. Thank you for joining us. Peace out, and have a good rest of your Sunday.
Wham.